Westlife Development in conversation with us after a very strong quarter.
This is, I would say, a lot of foundation building work that we've done over the last 4 to 5 years. The good news is that it is not one-off, and it's been 18 quarters since we've been able to get positive same-store sales growth. Particularly, what's worked for us particularly is that we've been able to give consumers many more reasons to use a McDonald's. For example, if you look at McCafe, which by the way now we have scale with over 220 McCafes, consumers can now use us for breakfast and have a cup of coffee from McCafe. They can use us after lunch, they can use us during snack times, and they can use us after dinner. When you club that with both delivery business, where you have outside food at home, and you look at breakfast, all this start becoming very powerful, and the combination of that has helped us do these 18 quarters of consecutive same-store sales growth. Even if you look at margins, obviously as our average volume has grown, I've always maintained that there is flow through to the bottom line. And in the last 5 years, pretty much every year on an average, we've grown our EBITDA margins by about 130 basis points. This has been quite nice because we laid out our Vision 2022 in 2016, and I'm delighted to say that we are very much on the cusp of being able to deliver that. And yes, we do believe that we will continue this growth trajectory, not necessarily quarterly, but on a yearly basis for sure. And we are very confident of delivering Vision 2022.
Okay, fair enough, Amit. So then I also want to talk just a little about the same-store sales growth. Of course, the highest in 4 quarters, and as you already mentioned, 18 straight quarters of positive same-store sales growth. The question really is that are we likely to now start seeing a Westlife Development in around double digits, if not double digits, around 10-12%, say in the foreseeable future?
Well, with same-store sales growth, it's never about double digit or single digit, and let me try and give you some context to that. So for example, if in 2015 we were doing 100 rupees in a restaurant, that same restaurant today is doing 163 rupees. So a 10% in 2015 would have been 10 rupees of incremental volume, while today it is 16 rupees. So the point is that as long as in the next year in the same quarter, we retain the 163 and add even 10 rupees to that, which may be 8% or 7%, I think we've made tremendous progress. So the important thing is when you double the average store volume per restaurant, then obviously you cannot expect it to grow at the same pace as it has in the past. Yet our Vision 2022 talks about a 7 to 9% range. And yes, we are really happy that even in a very tough environment, we've taken it from 5.6 to 6.7 to about 9.2. So we are quite hopeful that this trajectory continues moving forward as well.
Fair enough, Amit. In your press release, you do mention that there are various cost efficiencies which are in place, which have led to your operating margins expansion. My question then is, to what extent has this been on account of, well, raw materials and input costs? Is that aspect also playing out in favor of Westlife Development, and how are you witnessing, well, input costs in general?
So actually, if you read and if you hear people, food inflation has been quite challenging this year. But yet, despite that, we've been able to grow our gross margins quite nicely. The primary reason for that is that, one, scale allows our suppliers to sell or do more throughput out of the same factory, thereby reducing their fixed cost or spreading that over a larger number of units. Along with that, I must compliment our suppliers for working very hard to have anticipated this inflationary trend that is coming and working hard to mitigate some of these costs. So that, along with the work we've done on product margin improvements through McCafe and certain other product changes that we've made, I think put together, that has really helped us mitigate this pressure from food inflation, and yet at the same time, we've been able to grow our gross margins. So that's really the sort of answer to that particular question.
Okay, then finally a question then, as far as the 4th quarter is concerned, any numbers that you're working with respect to the number of additions that you want to see in stores? It could be McDonald's or McCafes?
So typically, every year we add about 25 to 28 new restaurants. and this year will be about that as well. Similarly, we add about 30 to 40 McCafes a year, and we will end this year at that or slightly better. We are also pushing very hard to put EOTF stores, which is our new experience of the future restaurants. So again, the growth on that front will be quite nice. The important thing is that as the margins are getting better, as sales are growing, we are reinvesting all that capital back in the restaurants with either new openings or going back and modernizing some of our older restaurants or implementing things like EOTF. So we feel that we are a brand that has remained very relevant to our consumers, and in fact we are changing the way consumers are using QSR, and including the good food story that we've talked about and the changes we've made to our menu. Obviously all of that continues to reflect. So therefore, on a year-on-year basis, whatever we've talked about with our Vision 2022, I think we are very much on track with that. 7 to 9% same-store sales growth, 400 restaurants by 2022, 350 McCafes, 350-ish delivery hubs, EBITDA margins running at about 13 to 15%, and today it looks closer than ever for delivering the Vision 2022.